first thing that I need everybody to do is to introduce yourself directly into that camera there. So, starting with Tina.
I'm Tina Bowden, co-founder of MicroBizMatters Day, the Tiny Troubleshooter, and also the B&B Keeper.
I'm Tony Robinson, OB, and I do that to differentiate myself from an actor called that did Baldrick and things like that. So I'm Tony Robinson, OB. I'm a co-founder of MicroBizMatters Day with Tina, and I've got a number of businesses. I've founded a number of businesses in the area of helping small businesses and support for small businesses, and I'm a writer as well.
And I'm Alison Chesworth. I'm Head of Talent and Innovation at EKM, and I also happen to be Anthony Chesworth's wife. So I have a bit of more of a floaty role, so I sort of come into the business and come out and make sure we've got the right people doing the right things in the right roles. Okay, so thank you, Tina and Tony, for joining me. It's the 6th year of MicroBizMatters Day.
Yep.
And by all accounts, from the crowds in the room, everyone's been really excited. For folk who've not heard about it or don't know what it's about, can you tell us more about it and what it's about?
Yeah, Tina and I got together a number of years ago. We didn't really know that until we met at a conference that we both lived in Scarborough. We tested for about a year on social media whether we could do something for micro business owners, and micro business owners are 0 to 9 employees, and 75% of all people in the UK are one-person businesses, if you like. But they're pretty much not recognised. It's a strange thing. 96% of all businesses, all these brave people like us, starting up their own businesses, and we're not recognised as being really important, and we are really important. So we looked to see if a way that we could actually get together and help each other, and that eventually led to us moving something from online to also having an event at the beginning of each year that would actually we could live stream it, and all the people on social media could get some good positive tips and help each other and connect with new people and various things. So it's a fun day, really. It's a day of real recognition, action and learning, isn't it? What do you say?
I agree with you, but I think it was all about showing micro business owners that there is lots of other micro business owners out there, because the problem is that quite often when you're a micro business owner you can feel very lonely. The beginning of the year isn't always a great time of year in any business. It's usually a quiet period anyway, so we decided we'd go for it at the beginning of the year. And as you say, this is our 6th year, and it's been amazing, and we'd just want to say a huge thank you to EKM for everything that you and Anthony have done, and the team, Jessie and Rachel and everyone else. It's just been amazing, and everybody's having a fun day, great speakers.
Lovely food.
And he always goes like, the food is an important part of any event. No, just anything.
Yeah.
So was there a pivotal moment? Was there any sort of specific thing that happened that made you create MicroBizMatters, or was it just all about raising awareness and recognition for micro businesses?
I think it was different really for both of us. For me, I'll let Tina answer for herself. Mine was started in 2004 when government policy in the UK actually started to ignore totally micro businesses in terms of government policy. And it has continued to do since 2004. And whereas I've been sitting on government committees trying to help and influence, we realised that we better just do something for ourselves. So by the time we got to 2009, 2010, wasn't it? I was desperate to find a thing that wasn't involved with banks, that wasn't involved with government, it was just us helping each other. And that's what we did. And fortunately, I was lucky to meet Tina, who thought, yeah, let's do it. But you said.
And I think because I've been self-employed for 30 years now, I'm 3rd generation self-employed. So for me, I'd never really been involved with the side that Tony was, the government support. In fact, I don't think any business that I'd actually run had ever had any business support that was government backed or bank backed or anything. But I'd had the benefit of my parents and family members and friends that were self-employed, and I just wanted to, well, our aim when we started, we founded something called Enterprise Rockers. It was a community interest company, and that was sort of the official structure of what we did, and we launched in 2012. But our aim was to make life better in micro business. So however we had to do that, and so we set out to do that, and we shared stuff online. That was all we did. We set up Facebook page, we set up the Twitter account. Since then we've done Instagram and YouTube, but we just set that up, and we went out there and said to people, look, what are you struggling with? What can others help you with? And that carried on, but then we realised that there needed to be more of an event. So we brought together people that we interviewed and that gave advice, and that's how it moved forward. But for me, it was coming at it more from a grassroots level, because actually there are a lot of people out there that don't know about support that there is available. I mean, there's less of it now in the form of, you know, when we first launched, there was Business Link and the different, but the term micro business was never used.
No, absolutely.
It was hardly ever. 8 years ago when we launched Enterprise Rockers on the beach in Scarborough in 2012, it was hardly ever used. Now it's used all the time.
Yeah, so it has worked a bit.
Yeah, so
some things work.
amazing really when you look at it, that it was just two people with an idea that can bring this many business owners together. I think it's fantastic what you've done.
And I think the other thing that Tina and I have been really lucky for is that all our friends, some of them have been quite famous really, and they've given up loads of time, which attracts an audience. Kanye King, who founded the Mobo Awards, Charlie Mullins with Pimlico Plumbers, Tim Campbell, the first Apprentice winner. All those friends that Naomi Timpley, a friend of yours, all those friends, didn't they, have actually supported them. We call them our head roadies and things initially, and all the people helping us. But, you know, that was great because people, whichever way you look at it, they want to see you and Anthony, if you like, because you've built this absolutely fantastic thing. And so they'll, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how you build an audience, really. So we've been really lucky there.
We have, and I think the other thing is as well, the people that have supported us, that have built their business from micro to bigger, so like Anthony and yourself, who have done it from a bedroom or a small office somewhere, or they've started off with one van, or Chris Percival, who, you know, Jigsaw Medical, and he started his business when he was at university as well. You know, you look at all those people and what they've built, but people, I mean, it's a bit like the thing that Anthony was talking about, the Ferrari driver. You know, some people look and think, oh my God, but that Ferrari didn't just, it's like they've not always driven a Ferrari. They've had to work up to it. They've not always employed 50, 150, 200 people. They've had to work up to it. So where did they start? They started as a micro business. Now some micro businesses, 1 in 6, grow, and a lot don't. But actually it's the reality of it, and all the supporters that we've had are real people. I think that's, they've shown the reality of what they've done, like yourself and Anthony, like Charlie, like Kanye, like, you know, the reality of what's behind it. And, you know, it's like talking to Camilla earlier about milking nuts for Milk Plus, and then, but people will perceive her, she's been on The Apprentice, you know, people perceive her as this person that's like, oh, she's got a massive team. We asked that question earlier, well, how many are there in your business? And I think it's people then getting the reality of like, oh, wow, yeah, okay, that's great. But then it comes together, and I started to refer to it very early on as the power of plenty. Because actually, as you get a little cluster here and a little cluster there, and all those clusters sort of surround each other, and we've got people on social media today, trip in the States, people in different parts of the country or even in the world, you know, that are sharing things. But it's that power of plenty. People that have never met each other, but talk to each other all the time on social media. I mean, we know what it's like. It's
And they are engaged. That's the difference, isn't it? You know, it's a very informal community, but it's still a community. We are actually helping each other.
How important would you say these types of events such as MicroBizMatters are, networking is to small businesses and micro businesses?
Well, I think networking is very important, but I think effective networking is important. So not just networking for the sake of networking, but actually networking where there are people, the right type of people that are going to bring you benefit or your business a benefit. I think events like this are important where there's a lot of similar business sizes. So it's like, oh well, I've got this problem, and you know, somebody that's in a completely different sector said, oh gosh, I had that. Because actually, at the foundation of most businesses, it doesn't matter what sector you're in, you need the business principles, and people in different sectors can be having problems. So I think it's important to come together and to actually chat to other people and realise that you're not on your own. But when it comes back to the networking and collaborating, it's the opportunity for collaboration. Or, I mean, I think Adam talked about it. He met somebody in the loo or something earlier on that could, you know, was going to benefit somebody else's business. And to me, I mean, I'm a huge believer in collaboration and bringing people together, not reinventing the wheel. And actually, if you need something, it's often at events like this that you'll find somebody that, and it might not be today or tomorrow or even next month that they're going to bring a benefit, but as long as you can keep that relationship that you've started, and the benefit of something like social media allows you to do that.
I certainly think collaboration is the number one thing. I think, you know, you and Anthony have built the business by empowering staff all the time, but there are lots of people that just need an hour chat to somebody who knows something more about something than them, and that's really powerful, you know. And business owners asking business, I mean, you know, Tina and I have often reflected on how much we kind of learn from each other. That's just two of us kind of thing, getting together. We only get together about once every 3 months, don't we? But, you know, in that little conversation that we get so much out of it. So I think the importance of this event is that if you do want to make connections, and especially putting a lovely schedule like this with all different kind of people, you'll find somebody here that can and is willing to answer the question. Real world, like, you know, real life answers. So if you're, you know, you never should give anybody any help that hasn't asked for it. But if you're willing to ask, there's somebody in this room that can probably answer your question. So that's, and there's somebody on social media, the millions involved in the day that can answer that question. So I'm always more chuffed when you actually see somebody ask a question to somebody on social media and somebody else answers it, and you think, it's all worthwhile.
I think it's also interesting in an event like this, in a venue like EKM, because actually it allows you as a company to open your doors and invite people in and say, this is what we do. They then understand you're an approachable company, you know, they get to meet the staff. That's what somebody was saying to me earlier over lunch. It's so nice to see the staff down here, you know, coming and saying, oh hi, who are you, what do you do? And again, there is benefits all the ways round for that, because I think then customers see that you are that approachable company, rather than going to a networking event that's in a hotel room. There's nothing wrong with it, but you know, it's not the same. To me, this is got a much greater atmosphere because it's real and it's business.
Yeah. And you're the business owners, you know, and this is business owners helping each other.
Thank you. So the first 3 MicroBizMatters days were down in London. So what made you, over the last couple of years, come back up north?
Well, I think we are from the north, and
they didn't understand
and we're not going south again. We kind of just discussed it, didn't we? I don't know, you want to say anything about it?
I think we knew when we first, well, the very first MicroBizMatters day, we had this conversation, didn't we, last night? The very first MicroBizMatters day, we didn't even think it was really going to happen. And we'd got this plan that we were going to, how were we going to do it? We were going to do it on Google Hangout. And Tony was like, Google Hangout, what on earth is, you know, and this is what we're going to do. And who's going to watch it? Well, we haven't got a clue. But if you don't put it out there, then it's not going to happen. And Tony did a little video, didn't you? One of your...
My secret plan.
Of your secret plan. It probably involved large sunglasses and some habits. And he did this little video and we put it out there. And Paul Lancaster, who supported us from the start, he saw it. He worked for Sage at the time, and he said, "Oh, you know, we could do something with this because it's a really great idea." He'd followed what we did.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, he liked what we were doing around the supporting of the micro businesses. And again, Sage are a company that have a lot of micro business customers. So anyway, nothing seemed to be really happening about it. So it was agreed that Tony would just do something remotely because we'd worked out how we could do it, and we'd interview some people. But in the meantime, I'd booked to go to France, and then suddenly we got this offer to host it at Google for Works. So that's why we ended up in London. That was where. And then when we were in London, Alan Pluck, a friend of Tony's, who was chief executive of Portobello Business Centre, he said after the first one, "Oh, well, we'll host it next year." And Charlie Mullins had come to both of those, and then he came to him to Portobello and said, "Well, next year you're having it at Pimlico." So it was really, but then we decided that actually, you know, we're from the north. It was like, no, we're not going to London anymore because actually we want to have it in the north, and we got an opportunity to hold one in Manchester, and last year was Hull, and here we are in Preston.
So
it's fantastic. Thank you for coming.
I don't understand it all.
Fantastic.
Yeah, because they don't understand us in the south. We tell it from the accent.
So what are some of the common issues that you see small business owners going through and having between you've got a wealth of experience? What would you say those issues are?
We put it, there's 2 C's, cash flow and customers. That's it. Because without cash flow and without customers, you don't have a business.
Yeah.
And everything else relates to it. And we did a lot in the beginning when we first launched Enterprise Rockers about forget everything else, all you've got to focus on is cash flow and customers. Your sales and marketing links to your customers, you know, your access to finance links to your cash flow. And those are still the problems. You know, if you can have all the best business ideas in the world and a beautiful website and all the social media accounts, but if you haven't got any customers, you haven't got a cash flow, or if you're running out of cash. So that for me is the main. There are all sorts of other things that arise out of that, but to have a business, you need those 2 things.
And I mean, I think the most vulnerable time for a business is pre-start to the first 18 months of the business, because frankly, and Anthony said it in his speech, people are selling you duff information because you're vulnerable, and they can sell you all sorts of things. They can sell you loans, they can sell you software that you don't need, they can tell you how the marketing is going to be, and you're very, very vulnerable, that kind of thing. So I have a tweet that's out every day, and it's the difference between 30% of new startups surviving 3 years and 80% surviving 3 years. And the 5 things are just bootstrap, don't borrow, don't take any money until you've got real customers and you can actually see what the business is about or whether it'll work, you know. Secondly, test trade first. Find, EKM can actually be a great way of actually test trading. Can I sell things? You know, you can upgrade later on, can't you, with your plan? But test trade at the beginning, get some real customers. Ask a business owner that actually understands the people you're going to be selling for. This is back to Tina's customers, isn't it? multiple income streams, and that's back to the cash flow and all the different things. But don't give up a day job, or maybe get a part-time job in order to get you through that kind of first period. And as Anthony says at the beginning, do something you love, enjoy, that's the fifth thing. And that makes the difference. Those things make the difference between 30% of people succeeding, and that means 70% failing, or 80% still in business after 3 years.
That's great advice and great points that business owners should take note of. So, since MicroBizMatters Day was conceptualised and launched it on YouTube, there's been a whole wealth of other platforms that exist in the social media world. Which ones do you think that small business owners really need to get to grips with?
Well, I think that, again, as Anthony said first of all, which I thought is absolutely great, is we don't always know. One of the greatest experts at the moment in the world of social media is Stephen Bartlett, etc. And he's actually gone back to email marketing, even though he's got millions of followers on Twitter and various things. And he's one of the great, because they keep changing the algorithms, don't they? And it's now, as Anthony says, if it's not a pay-per-click kind of deal, it's very difficult to. So you've got to use social media more as an awareness thing rather than a transactional thing, really. So I think you've got to be right up to date. Tina might be, have a better answer, but I'm constantly finding out what other people are doing almost day to day to use different social media. I mean, YouTube's just changed the rules in the last week or so. It's
it killed a lot of people.
Absolutely, we feel lucky that Twitter has continued, because for MicroBizMatters Day, Twitter is actually the most important thing. But I don't think Twitter's ever made any money, has it? So I don't know.
I think from a business point of view, you've got to understand what your customers use in relation to social media. So certain businesses will have their customers on Facebook. They're probably not on Twitter or on Instagram. And I think one of the things when you're doing your market research is to understand where your customers hang out. It's all right advertising in a certain place because somebody tries to sell you some free newspaper advertising, but actually if your customers aren't reading a newspaper, pointless advertising in it. But if your customers are on Facebook, then you're better off spending that money and boosting a post on Facebook. And I do think that the changes that take place are very frustrating for people. But I think it is a case of understanding. It's like Tony said, consistently for the last since we launched Enterprise Rockers, Twitter has been our platform because of the people that we engage with and the people support it and the ease of retweeting and all of that type of stuff. But through the B&B Keeper that I find the majority of stuff comes through Facebook, because there's a community group on there that's all to do with hospitality that I'm involved with. I write a satirical letter called Dear Guest every so often that other B&B owners or managers read and they sort of understand, and that for me is the best way of sharing that. But I am on all of them. And Instagram I use mainly personally for pictures, but I've still got all my branding associated with it.
And I am of the view and I've learned that for our business, blogging is actually quite important. But what I was doing before, I was posting lots of blogs. I've now got to the view that everybody says, which is actually make sure you do one thing. It doesn't matter whether it's Twitter or LinkedIn, which is very important for us. Do that thing really, really well. One thing a month is a lot better than 30 things. You've done really, really well that engages with exactly the audience that you want to. It's far better than just spending loads of time on all of them trying to make them work.
And I think the other thing to remember remember with social media is it's about telling a story. It's not about a sales pitch.
Yeah.
It's not sell. It's about telling the story. Whatever that story is, that you know, and if you're a micro business, especially sort of freelancer or something like that, people are buying you and your personality, and it's important to remember that when you're sharing anything on social media.
So, obviously, you both advise small business owners all over the country on a daily basis. What advice would you give to somebody who's starting a business in 2020?
Me? You? Well, I think the first thing is to actually spend some time with either an advisor, like at an enterprise agency where there's free startup help, to actually just ask questions and have questions asked of you.
Yeah.
It's the very first step, because if you're actually, you can get the kind of euphoria syndrome, or you can say, look, I know that people have read books and think, if I fail fast, fail better, and all this kind of stuff. Again, as Anthony says, that's rubbish, really. What you need to do is earn your living out of your own business, and that's absolutely fantastic, doing something you love. So ask for help is the very first thing. And there are people like, we've got, I'm co-chair of Yorkshire in Business, and Yorkshire in Business has advisors that have all been business owners, or are business owners at the moment, that give really high quality startup advice. Spend a couple of hours with somebody like that. Do not ask your mum or dad whether it's a really good idea.
I had to rebrand the tiny troubleshoot because my dad didn't know what it was that I did. It's a bit like Anthony was saying last night. But I think for me, it's making sure you've got a passion for what you're doing. And I have a saying that I use with business owner: if the passion's in doubt, get out. And
Love that.
that is actually, that goes from even Prestart. Because if you actually don't have the passion for, nobody else is going to have the passion for that business that you have. Even if you're in partnership with somebody, the passion that drives why they're doing it and the passion why you're doing it are often different. And so, to me, if you haven't got that passion, it's not going to drive the business forward, because on the down days, and there will be down days, this isn't just a case of you getting out of bed one day and thinking, oh, I can't be bothered today. I don't mean that, just lack of motivation, that constant passion, that fire in your belly. And I've had, businesses that I've sold because the passion for that business has gone for whatever reason. And so if the passion is in doubt, get out.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. That answers my interview questions, and now we've got to look at